You will have before you the glad helpers, members of which are present here, and their study and work in relation to spiritual healing. You will have before you the temple beautiful in Egypt at about the period 10,500 BC, after the return of the high priest Ra-Ta from banishment. You will describe in detail this temple and the services held in it, explaining how an understanding of the work carried on there may be of help to us now in carrying forward our healing study and work. You will answer the questions. Yes, we have the group as gathered here, as a group and as individuals, and the work of the glad helpers. In giving a description that ye who seek might understand, and the associations of that ye seek to accomplish in and with the bodies and the minds of those ye contact through thy efforts in this direction. Know first, from that ye have given thee, the conditions that existed at the time. Many of you here were both in and of the temple service, whether in the purifications in the temple of sacrifice or the temple beautiful. In the temple of sacrifice there were the altars to cleanse the bodies of those things that hindered in body, that were emblematical of the source of the stumbling block. In the temple beautiful there were the expressions of the service as an activity to maintain and to purify the bodies for the necessary associations of spiritual understandings in material bodies. Do not, my children, confuse thine bodies of today with those attributes of same, with the conditions existent in the temple beautiful. In structure, there had been gathered from all the nations of the earth that which represented from their environ, their surrounding, the most beautiful gift. That it might be a reminder of those, to those, that purified or gave themselves in service or activity there, of the beauty of service of every land in this preparation of the bodies for their greater service, and for their intermingling with those of the earth's environ, as well as enabling the servants, the workers, the priestess, the prophetess, those that labored, or joyously gave themselves, to give their activity for others. The materials outwardly were of the mountains nigh unto the upper waters of the Nile. It was in the form of the pyramid, within which was the globe, which represented to those who served there a service to the world. The furnishings may be surmised from the fact that the most beautiful things from each land were gathered there: gold, silver, onyx, iron, brass, silk, satins, linen. As to the manner of the service there, the individuals having cleansed themselves of those appendages that hindered, came not merely for the symbolic understanding. For these, to be sure, were all symbolized. The faults, the virtues of man, in all his 7 stages of development. In the light or the lamp borne by those who served as the light bearers to those who entered for their initiation, or for their preparation to be that is given by the teachers. Even Ra-Ta, laying aside those things that easily beset the sons of men, ye as ye enter here, put thy whole trust in the one God, that ye may be all things unto all men, thereby crucifying thine own desires that they, thy brethren, may know the Lord their God. In the activities then, there were first the songs, the music, as we have indicated that ye sing. RRRURR, which makes for the losing of even the association of the body, with that save the vibrations of which the body was then compassed. Yea now is, though encased in a much more hardened matter, as to materiality, which made for the vibrating of same with light, that becomes color, that becomes tone, that becomes activity. Seek then in tone, all of you, RRRRRR, that you may know how the emanations, that are termed as the colors of the body, make for the expression then given. With the music came then the dance, that enabled those with the disturbing forces and influences to become more erect, upright in body, in thought, in activity. Then there was the giving by the prophetess of the seal of life, that was set upon each and every one who passed through these experiences, how or in what field of activity the relationships were of an individual to its fellow man in maintaining material existence. Being in the world yet not of the world. These then, made for that as ye have in thine experiences in the present expressed. First in cleanliness, in purifying of the body, in the washing in blood, in water, that ye may be purified before thyself first, and then before others. the anointing with the incense, making for the raising of that you know as thine senses or perception or consciousness of the activities to all the faults, by comparison, as arose among others. From those activities ye have that first as thine service of preparation, of birth, of consecration, of purification, of those things that later become the hospitalization, the care of the ill in body, in mind. The divinations of those tempted from within and those tempted from without. Little study is made in the present of this phase of man's experience. The teaching, the preparation, the ministering, the song, the music, the activities that give expression, arise in man's experience from those activities in the temple beautiful. Ye ask, where is this now? Disintegrated, and in that sphere ye may enter, and some have entered, where these are sealed as with the 7 seals of the law, in that these experiences now become as those of thine activities among thy fellow man. Then, in using and in applying and associating same with thine activities in that experience, and that manner in which ye may use same in the present. So attune thyselves that ye may hearken, not as to an experience only, but rather live and be the experience in the hearts of those that are seeking to find their way, whether in the troubles of the body, of the mind, or whether they are lost among those turmoils of the cry, this way, that way, here and there. Be the experience to someone to light their lives, their bodies, their minds to thy living Lord, thy brother, the Christ. For he has promised in his words in thine own heart, that keeps the hope, that keeps the fires of thine own heart aflame, ye finding me may know the joy of the Lord. As many of you served there, as many experienced those purifications for an active service among their fellow men in an individual experience, so may ye purify thy minds and thy bodies, or purify thy bodies that thy mind may put on Christ, the garments of a living Lord, that ye may be not as ones stumbling, as ones fearful of this or that, but sure and certain in the joys of a risen Lord. That indeed thy body in its expressions may be the temple beautiful for thy living Lord. He thy brother, thy Christ, hath given that God is God of the living way. He is life. He is love. He is beauty. He is harmony. He is music. He is the rhythm of the body and dance that is a service to thy God. Though others make slight of thy manner of speech, of thy body, of thy walks, of thy ways, hold fast to him, grudging no one, loving all. For as given, in thy preparation, in the indication and the vindication in thine service there, self is lost in the love of thy fellow man, through the joy of the Lord in thee. Ready for questions. What were the symbols of the 7 stages of man's development? The world is the beetle. Birth is the cockerel. The mind is the serpent. Wisdom is the hawk. The varied activities in the cross, the crown, the gate, the door, the way. In which temple was I most active? What were my activities in same? This depends upon the periods in which this may be considered. In the early portion of the activities of the entity, it was in the temple of sacrifice or of purification. In the latter portion, when there had been those cleansings of the feet in thy own service there, then the activities were in the temple beautiful. As a guard to those as they proceeded from one symbol to another in their journey about the temple. Here it may be well that there be given a concept of what is meant by the journey, or what journey is meant. As indicated, the globe within the pyramid without, was 440 and 4 cubits, 27½ inches was a cubit then, or a mere then. The height was 420 and 40 and 4 mere, making then that in the form of the ova, or the egg in its ovate form. From station to station in the 7 phases or seals or stands or places of the activities, they were such as to make each station lead from one to another, by ever crossing the one, making the continued web. What part did I take in services in the temple beautiful? The announcer with the cymbal and horn. Please give me the information as to whether or not I was in the temple beautiful. If so, please give that service which I rendered. An observer of those seals wherein the effects of the sojourns in the varied activities were to be seen, or the effects from the planetary sojourn. Hence a keeper of seals there. Interest in astrology, astronomy, arises from same. Was I in the temple beautiful, and what part did I take in the services? In the station where thy weakness now appears. Take this home with thee and find what thou must do. A giving of the station, the symbol in that stage where the birth of the entity, the soul, was from materiality into materiality, or the mystic forces is considered of how thought or mind in its flow makes for associations of ideas as to make for the conscious consciousness of the entity. The priestess. In the records of that given for each in the journey out of the temple to material application. Or, to put in the parlance of today, a secretary to the stations. I would appreciate as much information concerning the temple beautiful as would be of help to me. I have a great inner urge to know more about this temple and its purpose to man at this time. Does this temple not have a close connection with destiny? If so, please give. As the entity was the prophetess to those, it would make the indication to the entity of a definite association or connection with destinies. But destiny, as ye have studied and as ye have learned, God hath not willed that any soul should perish, but hath with each temptation provided a way of approach. Hence man with his free will makes for whether the body is as the temple of the living God or the temple beautiful, with its various stations as represented in the various phases of his experience. As is shown in the body itself, and all of those urges as arise through emotions, through mind, through association, through purifying, through consecration, through determination, through knowledge, through the attributes that become a portion of same. As ye have seen and that thou hast given, may give, that led the many, that opened the way to many, it, the temple, thy body, thy mind, thy portion of the God consciousness, may be aroused and awakened to the abilities within self to assist in those becoming aware of the necessity of arousing to the destinies of the body, the mind, the soul. May I have a message bearing upon that period of time in the temple beautiful, that may be helpful to me in this experience. Thou in thine office ever was as the one that tended, gathered, comforted those as they passed from station or phase or experience. In encouraging, in comforting, know that thou in thine service now may give that encouraging word, that aid, that comfort, by the touch of thy hand, by the sound of thy voice, by the sureness of thy purpose, by the centralizing of thy ideals in him. Did I take part in the services in the temple beautiful? In bringing others to their activities there, in aiding those that faltered or made for aggrandizement of self, after their initiation. So, within, without, and in the present as thou risest at times to those heights sublime in thy visions of peace and harmony, thou mayest bring help to the experience of a soul that is scared, fearful, laxing or disturbed. So hast thou seen, and so dost thou see those things that make for the faltering steps, bringing help to the maimed in the experiences of those that have, as it were, taken hold and yet faltered. Keep thy faith.